All right. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to the Crypto Truth, where I give you the truth as I see it. Apparently, after I say that, the moment that I say that I'm going to start making more crypto videos, all hell breaks loose. But it's all good. I'm here now. As you guys know, there are a lot of things that's happening in society right now. Banks are collapsing. I've been meaning to talk about Holochain, Holofuel, and a plethora of things. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone that has been, all my subscribers that been up to this point watching my goofy videos. I won't call them goofy, but you guys know what I mean. But here I'm going to talk about something important because with everything going on, what's going to happen now, right? Well, the first thing that I want to do is I want to talk about Holochain. Then we're going to talk about now Holochain as a technology. We're going to talk about Holofuel. And then, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can. Holochain, Holofuel. And then I want to talk about the wider crypto space, right? The economy, Bitcoin, banks. We're definitely going to talk about banks in just a second here as well. But we're going to talk about Bitcoin and then banks. Now, according to order of operations, it would make sense to talk about everything in reverse, right? But actually, I'm going to talk about these things because most of my subscribers, most of you guys know I'm a huge Holochain fan. So we're just going to kind of work backwards here, just a little bit. Usually I'll talk about the banks and then everyone jumping into Bitcoin and then the purpose of Holofuel and how that's going to happen with Holochain. But what I really want to talk about is we're going to go backwards because there's some macroeconomic factors that are happening across the world. But obviously, as you guys know, there's a lot of banks that's been, there's banks are struggling in the United States of America. There's some bank runs. And then we also have the federal government starting to bail out these companies once again. How long are we going to start? How long are we going to give our energy, meaning our days and hours that we work, the money that we receive, right? The money that we receive, how long are we going to continue giving it to these organizations and they're not using it properly, wisely? And not only that, but what your stored energy, right? And I've talked about this in my previous videos before, but your stored energy is not is not being treated correctly, right? Or fairly. So first and foremost, when you're talking about Holochain, we know that Holochain is in beta right now. That's a very positive thing. It's growing as a company. It's getting bigger. We all know that I'm a huge Holochain fan, but also you guys also know that I'm very critical of the Holochain, the Holo organization as a whole, because there's just not a lot of information out there. And a lot of people don't understand, we really don't understand exactly how all of this is going to play out, how all of it's going to work out. Excuse me one second. Go tell them to be quiet, please. One second, you guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So, when I have my kids, I spend a lot of time with my kids, but there's been a lot going on, and I just felt like, you know, the moment that everything is like starting, you know what, the moment I get busy, remember when I went on a cruise and then I come back and like, it was just crazy. So it's like every single time I get a little bit busy, you know what, breaks loose. But anyway, so that's what's happening right now is that we don't exactly know what's happening with Holochain. We do know that it's in beta. We do know that they're moving forward. Now, Holo. Now, this is a huge, I should say issue, not problem, but it's an issue with the Holo organization. There is an extreme lack of communication as far as what's going on with Holofuel, what's going on with HOT, and also the holoports, right? There, we don't really know what's happening with Holo, and a lot of times, and I've spoken about this, it's very difficult for organizations to, or not organizations, people to really put their money where they need it because of lack of information. So we're going to talk about hollow fuel. And by the way, you know what? Let's go ahead and I'm going to talk a little bit about hollow fuel. I'm still going to have that video, but we're going to have a deep dive about hollow fuel. But people need to understand hollow fuel is a mutual credit. Suppose it's going to be a mutual credit currency. We're going to talk about mutual credit later. We're going to get into all of that deep stuff later. But it's a mutual credit currency. And that's what Holochain provides. But guess what? Hollow fuel is not going to be the only mutual credit currency. I have stated this, I have said this, and there's a lot of people who talked about, oh, as soon as I got a chance to swap. If you're not familiar with the term swapping, it's please look it up. But basically, they're like, well, I'm gonna swap my hot into hollow fuel, and because I believe in hollow fuel. That's wonderful. That's great. The problem is that, as I stated before, and I've said this over and over again, and guess what? Believe it or not, if you guys pay attention to Twitter, the music is dying down. Everyone is not talking about, oh, hollow fuel is going to change the world and everybody's going to be using hollow fuel. Why is that? Because they're starting to come to grips in reality with what the truth is, and actually pay attention to what the Holochain, and the Holo organization have been saying from the beginning. I'm trying to tell you, Arthur Brock and Eric Harris Braun and Mary Camacho has laid it out and stated this multiple times. I don't understand why it's so confusing to people, but here we are. So when we're talking about mutual credit currency, hollow fuel, they don't know exactly the dynamics between hollow fuel and hot. It's gonna fluctuate, but hot is gonna be more of a stable thing because hollow fuel is gonna fluctuate. That's the whole purpose of a currency. But the hot is going to be more of a store of value. Speaking of store of value, why do you guys think? I'm going to hop around just a little bit here. Why do you guys think that everyone is taking their money out of their accounts right now, out of their banks, and they're putting it into Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is a better store of value. I've stated this, and I've said this millions of times in my videos. I've even put out videos talking on a deep level, and I'm going to find that, and I'm going to attach that video to this. Bitcoin will always be a store of value. A lot of people want to make it a currency. That is just not what it can do. It operates better solely as a store of value, and that is the whole reason why we have a lot of rich people starting to accumulate Bitcoin, and it will happen. I'm going to tell you guys what's going to happen in the future and why all of this is correlated as we start to get to the macro picture here. So when we look at hollow fuel as a mutual credit currency, there are going to be a whole lot of other currencies that are going to be mutual credit currencies, not just hollow fuel, but depending on the ecosystem that it is. Now, with hollow fuel, it's going to be what? In the hosting ecosystem, right? And so when we're looking at other cryptocurrencies built onto Holochain, we understand that there's going to be a whole lot of a basket of mutual credit currencies. Those are not stores of value. And that's what we have to understand. And that is the reason why I'm keeping my hot and not switching over to hollow fuel. Now, as far as the other projects, the other crypto projects, there's a lot of stuff happening in the background. As I stated before, I'm going to start talking about these other projects. I'm going to start talking about XRP. I'm going to start talking about Cardano. I'm going to start talking about Ethereum a little bit better. Obviously, the hot token is an ERC20 token. So we all know what's happening here with the mutual credit currency. Now, I'm going to go to one step further because I was talking about store of value. Bitcoin is a store of value. You guys, again, going back to what I was stating before, these banks are starting to crumble, right? And we all know the specifics as to why. I don't want to go into numbers. I don't want to go into these hard, complicated of terms and phrases that hardly nobody understands anyway. Here's the deal. If you go to the bank and you own $2 million and you tell the bank, I want to take out $2 million, they're going to look at you cross-eyed, or they're going to tell you, no, you can't do that right now, but you can take out $1 million. And right now, that's why the government has jumped in, because they're like, oh no, this is going to be 2008 all over again. Guess what, people? This is only the beginning. On my Twitter page, I told people I'm chilling, I'm relaxing. Why? Because I understand that this is just the beginning. And you're going to have to prepare yourself and educate yourself. As I always say, you got to do your own research. And when you do your own research and you educate yourself, you better position yourself to have a better future for yourself. Okay? So now, when we look at, we're looking at Bitcoin and banks right now. And because banks are struggling, no one knows where to put their money. You can't put your money in a 401k. You can't put your money, you can, but it's dollars denominated. You look at USDC, there's an issue. Look, you guys, I want to talk about this because we're about to talk about the macro perspective here. This is all leading up to our governments saying, okay, all of this, our current banking system is trash. What are we going to do? It's simple. We're going to go to CBDCs. All of this is happening to set up CBDCs. For some of you guys who don't know, that's central bank digital currencies. Now, the government has already been testing it. It's supposed to be fed now. It's supposed to be rolling out over the summer. And so we have a lot that's going on when it comes to we have a lot of things that's going on when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Okay, so I need you guys to understand that this year is in my last video, and I know I was just talking. Remember, I know I was playing my game and I was talking, but I said all of this is going to come to a head. All of this is blowing up. This is right before all of this just started happening. Everything is boiling up. And at some point, the government just can't keep cutting interest rates. Can't keep raising interest rates. At some point, they're going to have to stop. And right now, to me personally, this is what I believe. I believe that banks, executives, and all of these lead people say, hey, we all know where this is going. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pretend like we're a lame duck, meaning that we're going to go ahead and cash out. The execs are going to get their money. The government, we're going to claim that we can't do certain things because the government has raised interest rates. Now we got politicians. It's all becoming a politician game. We got DeSantis talking about how it's all about energy related stuff and how companies are afraid of energy, whatever. You can use whatever excuse you want. Here's the real deal. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. The system does not work, period. And if you think that this system is going to continue to work, you know what? Go right on ahead. Guess what? I believe that 90% of people think that we can fix this system. This system is not going to be fixed until everything is destroyed. And unfortunately, I'm not talking about physically destroyed. I'm talking about the whole structure just imploding on itself, because that's exactly what's happening right now. And so let me tell you guys exactly what is about. I'm going to tell you what exactly is going to happen. And I know this is going to happen. We're going to get the CBDCs. Our governments are going to say, hey, we need you. If you're going to enter the cryptocurrency space, we're gonna force you to use these CBDCs in order to onboard into the crypto space. The next thing that's going to happen is regulation. You can't have CBDCs and get into the crypto space and not have regulation. And I know some of you guys are thinking, oh man, if we have regulation, that means that the crypto space is going to take off. Oh yeah, the crypto space is going to take off for a whole plethora of reasons, depending on what project you in, and we're going to get into that later. But when these CBDCs roll around, now there's going to be regulation. Okay? And when there's regulation, only what's going to happen, depending on this regulation, depending on what happens, we are going to start seeing projects. What project are you with? And we all know that some of the major projects are going to survive. Okay? Some of your projects will not survive. Now, many of you guys are like, well, what has this got to do with Holochain and blockchain and all of this? I'll tell you what it's going to do. Right now, the CBDCs it's called central bank currencies for a reason. Central bank digital currencies for a reason. And if you can look at that, that's the key word I want you to pay attention to. Now, a lot of you, and I believe somebody was talking about this on Twitter, talking about, Holochain is going to provide for CBDCs. That's very possible. If you guys don't realize, Holochain is not a cryptocurrency. Holochain is a DLT, a distributed ledger technology. It's hot, and that's right now is the main cryptocurrency that's connected to Holo and Holochain. But we look at this, everything is going to be centralized. But with Holochain, and this is my own personal opinion, actually even with blockchain and Holochain, and we're going to put blockchain here first. With blockchain, everything is starting to go to blockchain, right? So that's why we have, everyone's going to be like, oh, we use our central bank digital currencies. And matter of fact, on our central bank digital currencies, we're going to try to do it ourselves and put numbers on the board and different things like that. It's not even going to be on a proper DLT, probably. I don't even know what the hell they're going to use. Is it possible that they can use Holochain? Absolutely. For some of us, if central banks are going to be using Holochain, the price of hot, even though it probably has nothing to do, is going to skyrocket like a mug. We all know that's going to happen. At least it should anyway. But that's all perception. That doesn't have really anything to do with, and a lot of people don't understand this. That's the other thing. A lot of people don't understand what hot is and what hollow fuel is. And everyone's talking about, oh, it's just the IOU and all this kind of stuff. There's so much complications. There's so many things out there that's confusing. And again, I've said this before, I'm beating a dead horse. I know I am. But there needs to be a clearer picture of what's happening with hot and hollow fuel. So we're looking at these central banks, and they're forcing us. The central banks is like, I need CBDCs. We are going to purposely implode, force people to use central bank digital currencies so that they can onboard onto blockchain because the regulations will be there. And once they onboard onto blockchain, this is, again, within the next year and a half, and obviously coincides with the 4-year cycle. So all of this is happening. All of this is coming to a head. This is why we have to pay attention, people. So when we're looking at blockchain and we see, okay, well, what does blockchain do? Well, blockchain allows for people all across the world, countries, to communicate across the world. And that's exactly what XRP, and I'm going to say XRP is doing, is saying, hey, you know what? We got our central bank digital currencies, but we're also, look at the timing, people. We're also going to use XRP or Bitcoin as a store of value. And our banks are going to use XRP to communicate back and forth so things that happen faster, so that our banks aren't closed on 2 days, or 36 or whatever, 48 hours out of the week, but actually open 24/7 so that they can start closing accounts and start making transactions even on the weekends. And so when we look at central bank digital currencies and blockchain, we see here that they're going to start using XRP, Bitcoin, and a couple of others. Now, what does that do? That creates a closer world. But here's something that I've stated before. We're now going into microeconomics. We're now going into what Holochain is trying to do, and what a lot of a lot of other projects are doing as well, because we're started, and that's where we get these DAOs, these decentralized autonomous organizations, is that now things are starting to become more of a community. And that's where mutual credit currencies come from, is, okay, I'm going to build this community. I want to save the world. I want to use my energy wiser. So I'm going to be a part of, I don't know, Red Grid. I want to do things a different way. And so all of these banks and all of everything, the Holochain says, okay, well, we're just going to help you further build a community, and where it's peer-to-peer. So now we're going from centralized countries to countries actually organizing with each other, using blockchain technology, to communities actually becoming closer. And these communities are all across the world. And guess what? Guess what can solve all of these issues, including regulation, proper regulation, is Holochain. People understand where all of this is going. And so that's why when it comes to Holo, it's going to even create more of a community, because it's going to allow people to communicate a whole lot better. And that's what I was saying, the way of communication, being able to communicate in a proper way, will change the world dramatically. And this is the reason why I believe, and I'm telling you, I'm not guessing. I am telling you this stuff is going to happen. I'm going to attach my previous video that I talk about Bitcoin being a store of value, so that you guys can really, really understand. Okay? So anyway, I want everyone to understand where all of this is flowing. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of news out there, but everyone's paying attention. And see, this is the reason why people haven't picked up on Holochain or the reasoning or the ability that Holochain has, because everyone's so focused on all of this other stuff. The CBDCs is just the beginning. It's not really going to work out. People are going to lean towards blockchain. And yes, a lot of people are like, oh, you're trying to tell me that the central banks are going to be using Bitcoin? Yes. If you're trying to tell me, oh, central banks are going to be using XRP? Yes. People, you got to do your research. So with all of this, where do we put our energy? And this is going to be the last thing I talk about. And I've broken this down on a different video. But where are people going to put their energy? Well, once people understand that the banks aren't going to help them, and that their energy that they provided, meaning how they work, what their assets are, once they understand that the banks aren't going to be able to help them, or the banks are going to continue to get in these bailouts while everybody else gets screwed, people are going to start looking into cryptocurrency. Okay, now everyone's like, oh, what do I do? Well, when they look at cryptocurrency, what are they going to say? Bitcoin, right? Because, man, I can tell you guys some stories. Now, I think pretty soon I'm going to play my game and talk to you guys and tell you guys a couple of stories of exactly what happened when I've been talking about cryptocurrencies lately. Couple opposite stories, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, one for Bitcoin and one against Bitcoin is what I mean by opposite. But anyway, so Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And then after that, they're going to say, well, now that we can't trust, we're going to look at Bitcoin cryptocurrency. But here's the thing. There are going to be some projects that are going to be terrible, and some people are going to get into, once again, they're just going to flop right on into these scams. And then after all of these scams, because right now, like I said, regulation is going to be at this point. And there's still going to be people who fall for scams. The scams, after the regulation, the scams are going to go down. It's going to go up, but then it's going to go down because they're going to actually start enforcing. So we can have rules all we want, but until they start becoming enforced or the proof is in the pudding as far as certain projects are concerned, that's when we're going to see where the scams are. And then after the scams, that's going to be the winner. And what is going to be the winner, folks? I'm going to tell you what's going to be the winner. The winner, as far as currency is concerned, for store of value, I'm going to put SOV there. For store of value, Bitcoin is going to be the winner in our lifetime. Now, there's a whole lot of stuff that people can talk. Oh, well, you know, mutual credit currencies and blah, 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 blah. And then the future. Yeah, when I'm old and gray and I'm in a nursing home. No thanks. I don't have time for that. Okay? So store of value, Bitcoin. I forgot the term for it. I believe that XRP is going to win. Oh, what's it called? Bank settlements. Settlements. For settlements, XRP is going to win. Telling you. Just saying. Okay? And then for our communities. Now, as far as all of these mutual credit currencies and Hollow Fuel, and all these other crypto projects, I've stated this before and I'm going to say this again. If your crypto project has utility, you are going to be just fine. It's all about utility. So, when you look at mutual credit currencies, I do believe that they're going to come out on top whenever they come out. And I also believe that other crypto projects that has utility. These are going to be the winners. Right here. These are going to be the winners. I'm not here to tell you guys what you want to hear. You guys know I'm a huge Holochain fan. I don't even say everything nice about Holochain like it's the most amazing thing in the world. I do believe that it's going to change the world. Same thing with other projects as well. There's positives and negatives to everything. People, your lives are important, and we're starting to see. I have a couple of questions for everyone. Please comment, and if you made it this far in the video, please comment down below. But how long are we going to start trusting these governments? How long are we going to start trusting the system that is created? How long are we going to trust people with our energy? Everything that we have done as a whole, from a worldwide point of view, where is all of this going? Because at the moment, it seems like no one is healthy. It's important to take care of your mental health, your physical health, and for some of you guys, your spiritual health, however you see spirituality. It's also important to do your own research. And this is something that you guys know I constantly say. So I'm going to ask you guys, please, I'm going to end it right there. As I always say, do your own research, do your own research, do your own research. And last but not least, please, 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 above all else, this world is starting to get very crazy. Please stay safe out there. Bye, you guys.